When I saw the CPI numbers yesterday at 3.8%, I was a little bit worried. It was nothing special. I know it's part of the war. But then the PPI, the producer price index numbers came out today. And just look at the producer price index numbers. They were expecting the price rise to be at 4.9% year on year. The price rise came out at 6%. That's a big miss. And the thing is, it's not about the inflation increasing, because I think everybody knew that the inflation was going to be increasing. What worries me here is that the inflation increased way beyond the expectations. And so today I was going to talk about Trump, and we are going to talk about Trump actually landing in China, because Trump is in China right now, and we'll be covering that whole story. But I think we do need to spend some time talking about PPI and what the PPI means. The reason why the PPI worries me so much is because remember that PPI takes, or the producer price index, measures what the producers are paying, how much the price increase the producers are paying. Now, the problem is that in about 3 months, that will filter into consumers. Because remember, when you're making, for example, this bottle, it takes time to buy the plastic, buy the machinery, etc., etc. You then make the bottle. By the time the water gets bottled and gets onto shelf, we're talking 2 to 3 months, right? And so what this is showing us is that we're going into a period of very high inflation, right? And if we're going into a period of very high inflation, then even though we are getting 𝗕𝗏𝗯𝗀 in as the new Fed chair, he cannot reduce rates. You cannot reduce rates in a period where you've got inflation that is doubling and tripling. Now, yesterday, the inflation was 3.8%. And as I said, that kind of felt normal. We kind of thought that was normal. That was as expected. But that followed by a PPI of 6%, I think that starts to spell trouble. And if we start looking right now at the odds of a rate cut. Now, I was going to talk about this anyway. And what happened was, I mean, the PPI numbers actually came out. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to refresh this in front of you. But before I do, what you notice is the base case is that in 2026, we're going to get no rate cuts whatsoever. And actually, the next move by the Fed is going to be a rate hike. Okay, a rate hike. That is what we're actually expecting. So I'm going to refresh this now together. Let's see if anything's changed. Okay, let's go down to the bottom of that same page, which is called the probabilities page over here. Okay, so for now, the next move for the Fed is a rate hike, and that is in 2027, in December 2027. They're talking about a rate hike at the moment. And that shows you just how confused the market is. The one piece of good news, but I don't even think you can say that it is actually good news, is that what we know is that in periods of a rate hike, generally the S&P and generally Bitcoin actually moves up. So you can see that when interest rates go up, when interest rates actually go up, that is when risk assets actually start to move. We'll talk about that today. We'll also talk about the fact that Trump is in China. He landed in China a few minutes ago. There is live footage of him actually landing in China. I'm going to show you where he's staying. I'm going to show you where we went, who went with him. I'm going to show you why those people went with him. I'm going to show you about the people that you don't know that went with him, that are with him, that you should know are actually with him. 𝗙𝗪𝗓 is with him. That's why 𝗙𝗪𝗓 is not running the show today. The show is running itself. It's being run by an AI. 𝗙𝗪𝗓 actually went with him. Josh also went with Trump today. So big show today. Lots to talk about. This PPI thing is something that I really want to talk about. Trump in China is something I really want to talk about. The other thing that I really want to talk about today is that I noticed that there are only 50 likes with like over 600 people watching the show. I think that we can do better. I think as a collective, we can do a lot better than we're actually doing. So I want to encourage you to act like a collective and smash the like button so we can get on with the show. All right, let's get the show on the road, chaps. I've got to say that Bitcoin's price is incredibly resilient. I mean, you've had a bad CPI, you've had a bad PPI, you've got oil prices at above $100 a barrel again, and Bitcoin is still at $80,000. Now, a lot of people are expecting this price to come down. We'll talk about that today. But I think the first thing we need to address is this PPI. And as I said to you earlier, I'm worried about this PPI. Why am I worried about this PPI? Is because our entire thesis is that when 𝗕𝗏𝗯𝗀 comes in, 𝗕𝗏𝗯𝗀 is going to start cutting interest rates. You cannot cut interest rates when inflation goes up to 6%. Now, you may say, well, hold on a second. CPI is not at 6%. It's PPI that's at 6%. Problem is, as I said to you, this bottle gets manufactured. Once the bottle gets manufactured, let's say it takes a month to manufacture the bottle and actually get it from the bottler to the water plant, etc., etc. Then they've got to fill it. Then they've got to get it to the store. Then they've got to reprice it, etc., etc. And then the inflation data only comes out 1 month after this thing's actually in store, basically what this is telling you is that in 3 or 4 months, inflation can go as high as 6%. That's a very, very, very worrying number for anyone, because that means that we cannot get the interest rate cuts that Trump actually wants. I don't care who you are. I don't care who nominated you. I don't care what your policy is. When you've got inflation at 6% or so, you cannot reduce interest rates. And that's the opposite of what the market is playing into. How I feel right now is that markets are basically ignoring any kind of bad news, and there is an extreme euphoria happening in the markets. Doesn't matter what you throw at the markets, doesn't matter what the bad news is, whether it's CPI, whether it's PPI, whether it's a whole lot of other things that I'm going to show you later today, the market's ignoring them all, right? So we have Trump, who is now in China. He arrived in China. This is Fox News covering it. I mean, you could say basically live. I want to try and get you to a point. I mean, let's see where he is right now. So he's arrived in China. He arrived in China with a whole lot of... Okay, let's just wait for it to actually play. Oh, the live stream is finished. Okay, so I'll show you some streams of him arriving. There he is. He arrived in China. He arrived with a whole list of people. All right, so Trump arrived with a whole list of people. You can see more images over there, more images over there. Trump is in China. It's a long awaited trip. This image is an image of them on Air Force One eating Panda Express. Now, it's not a real image. It's an AI image, because you can imagine that flying in Air Force One, they don't want to put too many people on Air Force One. The reason why I don't want to put too many people on Air Force One, because Trump went with a lot of people. He went with Larry Fink, he went with Elon Musk, he went with Tim Cook. Basically, everybody on this list, which are really big people, you can read the list on your own. The one notable exception on this list is Hardis. He wasn't invited. The other one is Brian Armstrong. So as you can see, obviously crypto is not any part of this agenda. So for the crypto bros, no, Brian Armstrong is not on this list. Jamie Dimon's actually also not on this list. You do have David Solomon from Goldman Sachs. By the way, I don't know if you know this, but David Solomon is actually a DJ. He is a DJ. He actually does like real gigs. Anyway, they are all in China. What you can see from this list is that Trump is a man on a mission. The people that actually went on Air Force One, so Elon actually went on Air Force One, and Jensen Huang also went on Air Force One. Now, interesting, Air Force One refueled in Alaska and picked up Jensen Huang. So maybe he was like a last minute addition. Trump says over here, CNBC incorrectly reported that the great Jensen Huang of NVIDIA was not invited to the incredible gathering of, he loves adjectives, the incredible gathering of the world's greatest businessmen and women proudly going to China. In actuality, Jensen Huang is currently on Air Force One, and unless I ask him to leave, which is highly unlikely. CNBC's fake recording, blah, 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 blah. He says, it's an honor to have Jensen, Elon, Tim, Larry, Steven Schwartzman, Kelly Ortberg, Brian Sykes, Jane Fraser. He lifts a whole lot of other people. And he says, we're going to go there to have an extraordinary, to go talk a discussion to open up China so that these brilliant people can go and work their magic. So Trump is a man on a mission. He has an agenda. He's taking the biggest business people in the world there, and he's got a plan. I'm going to show you the plan later. I'm going to show you who wants what. I've actually built a model. I didn't build the model. The researchers built a model of exactly who wants what out of this visit. Interestingly enough, I mean, if you want to know where Trump's staying, he's staying at the Four Seasons in Beijing. He's got the Imperial Suite. Now, just to give an idea of how big the Imperial Suite is, it's a 200-meter suite, which apparently, when they found out that it was 200 meters. Now, 200 meters is respectable for a suite. They said, is that all? So he's got the best suite in China. It's a 200-meter suite at the Four Seasons Hotel. Secret Service and everybody else also obviously stays at the Four Seasons Hotel. That's what it actually looks like. You know what I want to do, actually? Let's do this. Let's go to booking.com and let's try and book the suite. Should we try? So I'm going to go to booking.com. Okay, and let's try and book the suite and just see how much this thing actually costs. So booking.com. We can't book it for tonight, obviously. They won't allow us to book it for tonight. But let's actually try. And okay, so we want to see Four Seasons. Four Seasons. Where is it? In Beijing? Where is it? I think it's in Beijing. Is it Beijing? Let's have a look here. Which Four Seasons is it? Four Seasons Beijing. Okay, so let's go to Four Seasons Beijing. Where is my booking.com Here's the tab over here. Okay, so let's look. Check-in date, Four Seasons Hotel Beijing. Let's say we'll go next week after, and we'll just go there for 2 nights. And we want the big suite. So let's see if we can find the rate for the big suite. It's a 200-meter suite, 7,000 square foot suite. I'm a Genius member, so I'll get like a good rate here. Let's go. It's usually at the bottom. Okay, let's go. Okay, here it is. The terrace suite. Okay, so yeah, this is it. The terrace suite, 240 squares. Okay, let's just see that it's got that big fancy lounge. Doesn't look like that. Nah. Anyway, this is quite cheap. I mean, this is 35,000 rand is like $2,000. Anyway, so that's where Trump's staying. Now, Trump has gone to China at a very, very, very interesting time. They're in the middle of the war with Iran. Remember that Iran and China are actually good friends. And that's one of the things that Trump actually wants out of the war, out of the visit, is probably the end of the war, and to get some pressure from Beijing around the war. This at a time where the PPI comes out this high right now. What you can see is, even though the PPI is high, the S&P is just continuing. I mean, it's not even down today on that PPI news. It's basically literally shaking off every single piece of bad news. This is a worrying thing because, you know, this is a blow off top. This is what a blow off top looks like. It's like in crypto, when you have a blow off top and people say to you, but this is bad and this is bad, and no one actually ever listens, and the market just continues to go up. That's effectively what you call a blow off top. And a lot of the big analysts are saying this, like Michael Burry. He says that the market today feels like the last months of a 1999-2000 bubble. Now, I don't pay any attention to Michael Burry whatsoever. Not at all. The researchers added this into the research document. Okay, I don't know why they did, because they should know better than to add this into the document. Even Michael Burry himself, look here, Michael Burry, he says, the boy that cried wolf so many times, no wolf. In the end, what happened? There was a wolf, but nobody was listening. I'm now a meme for the number of times I've called the crash. So Michael Burry, just for those of you who don't know, Michael Burry has called 3 out of the last, no, he's called 3,000 out of the last 3 crashes. Out of the last 3 crashes, he's called 3,000 crashes. So yes, I think he might be right here, but even ChatGPT says he is accurate, because he did predict the 2008 meltdown, and he did predict COVID, but that's about it. And the rest of it, he's highly, ignoring him is dangerous, but he's highly exaggerated. That's the problem with Michael Burry. Although there are some indicators that we need to pay attention to, because there's no doubt that this market is heated, right? The first thing is that the NASDAQ is trading at 15% above its 15-day moving average for the 3rd time in 30 years. The last 2 times were 2009 crisis and the dot-com crisis. So it does feel like the market is extended, right? It does feel like the market is extended. You can't ignore the indicators. The S&P 500 has the widest divergence that we've seen in a long time. Now, what does this mean? It says the S&P 500 as a percentage of stocks, the S&P 500 percentage of stocks above the 200-day moving average has another divergence taking place. What does this mean? The index is going higher, while the number of stocks above their own 200-day moving average is declining. What does that mean? It means that a bunch of stocks are carrying the entire market at the moment. That's very, very, very unhealthy. The stocks that are carrying the market are the AI stocks, the semiconductor stocks. And if you look at the semiconductor stocks, that is the performance of the semiconductor stocks. Like, just to give you an idea, from here, which is 2021 till today, they've doubled. They are carrying the entire market. So they are carrying the entire market. Another data point is that the RSI on the S&P 500 is now at 83. If you look back in history, the last time that it was in 83 was in 2017. That's how overextended the market feels right now, right? Okay, so this is another one. This is how far the market is decoupling from bonds. So most people have never looked at this chart. Right now it's printing a historic extreme. The top panel is the S&P 500. The bottom panel is the RSI of the S&P 500 divided by the long-term duration. In other words, how is the market performing relative to bonds, right? And it's not doing very well. It's going very, very, very high. This is another thing which people are looking at. A lot of people are looking at this. And it's called the 40% bubble concentration. The 40% bubble concentration says every time the top 10 stocks have made up more than 40% of the total market, a major crash has followed. Okay, this pattern holds nearly 200 years of market history. So in over 200 years, every time the top 10 stocks have made up 40% of the entire market, that is when the market actually crashes. That is when there's concentration risk. And you can see here that there is a lot of concentration risk. And the US market is in bubble territory again. In 2000 it was entered, in 2026 it's AI. Don't forget the old line, if it looks like a duck and it swims like a duck and quacks like a duck, then it's probably a duck. And what he's basically showing here is that there are a whole lot of stocks, or a handful of stocks, that are getting most of the gains, and they're pushing up the entire index. In South Korea, it's the same thing. It's Samsung and one other company that's pushing up the entire index. I'm going to drop a video about that later. So right now, there's a massive disconnect between the market and the AI stocks, or the stocks actually carrying it. Another big disconnect right now is a disconnect which is probably affecting a lot of us, and that is that the rich are getting rich and the poor are getting poor. Because the problem is, when you've got inflation and assets rise because inflation is rising, that's what basically happens. So when you have inflation, assets rise because inflation is rising, right? So the stock market rises, the gold price rises, the Bitcoin price rises because you have inflation, and they need to be inflation adjusted. However, when you don't have assets, so in other words, if you're rich and you have assets, that's amazing, because then you're invested in assets and your assets are going up and you get richer. What happens if you don't have assets? So the other side of the coin is a very ugly side of the coin, because the petrol for your car has nearly doubled, your rent has nearly doubled, everything has nearly doubled. And I can see Hardest nodding here, because I can tell you living here is getting very expensive, and living wherever you live is getting really, really, really expensive, right? If you're rich, the stock market's carrying you because you have assets. The problem is that the number of people that actually have money to invest in the stock market is very, very, very small. And so what happens is the rich get richer and the poor get poorer. And that's the disconnect that's currently happening in the United States. Americans have never been this broke before. They can't pay their mortgage, they can't pay their credit cards. Okay? At the same time, stock markets are basically going up, right? So that's a massive, massive, massive problem, because if you look at the canary in the coal mine, this is from January 29, 2008. McDonald's showed its first sign of vulnerability in the US, and now McDonald's is again seeing consumers actually tightening their belts. So when you look at the actual inflation numbers, energy commodity inflation is 30%, gasoline is 30%, airfare is 20%, energy is 20%. So you can see that, like, the things that every day-to-day people need are basically getting more and more and more expensive. And that's a massive disconnect. So you have two disconnects happening at the moment, which are unhealthy. The first disconnect is that the rich are getting richer and the poor are getting poorer. And that's very bad. That preempts almost every single crash. The second one is that the top stocks are outperforming the rest of the market, and the top 10 stocks now make up more than 40% of the market. That's a very, very, very unhealthy market. And generally, that leads to a crash. So Trump's now in China. He's going to negotiate against the background of high inflation and the interest rates going up. Now, I want to talk about interest rates going up, or interest rates going down. Trump wants interest rates to go down. I want to show you the chart of interest rates, because I think it's very important that we actually look at this chart objectively. I know we're all crypto bros, and I know we all want interest rates to go down, right? But I want to show you when interest rates actually go down. Interest rates go down when markets go down. You can see it over here. Markets go down and interest rates go down. And this is a chart since the 2000s. But if you go back, I think it's exactly the same story. Interest rates go down, markets go down. Interest rates go up, markets go up. Interest rates go down, markets go down. Interest rates go up, markets go up. Okay? I know it's counterintuitive, right? Because we want interest rates to go down so that the markets can go up. It doesn't actually work like that. What happens is, when the going is good, the Fed get the license to raise interest rates. When the going is bad, they have to drop interest rates to stimulate the economy. Right now, we're in a period of relatively high interest rates and relatively high stock markets. Very dangerous, because if you raise rates in this environment, you're going to destroy mortgage holders, you're going to destroy the economy, you're going to destroy everybody else. The same thing happens with Bitcoin, right? So you can see every time interest has gone up, it means the markets have been so healthy that the Fed said, you know, we can actually raise interest rates. We can actually go and refuel our ammo, right? Ammunition. And so, I mean, if we want interest rates to go down, which is what Trump wants, then we need to be able to deal with the consequences. Interest rates will go down when something breaks. And that's the part, and now that's the background under which Trump is going to China. Trump is convinced, or he's trying to convince us, that stocks are going to go higher. And every time he says that, stock actually do go higher, right? So you can see that. Listen to this.
And as soon as this war is over, which will not be long, you're going to see oil prices drop, and you're going to see a stock market, which is already at the highest point in history, go through the roof. You're going to see the golden age of America, frankly, and you're seeing it now. So as soon as this is over, don't forget, you have hundreds of...
As soon as this war's over, stocks are going to go down. Stocks are going to go up. He needs the war to be over. End of story. And that's one of the things that he's going to go and ask for in China. So he's gone with this delegation of all his friends, all the big businessmen in the United States. He's there with quite a busy schedule. I'm not going to read you the whole schedule, but it's quite a busy schedule. And they are there on a mission, right? Someone called it crazy. He said, call me crazy, but I don't think Trump's bringing Jensen, Elon, Tim Cook, and all the other leaders to the other end of the world to deliver bad news or come back with a negative outcome. He's there to do business. Let's look at some of the business, because remember yesterday when he announced this, when they picked up Jensen Huang on the plane, which I think they forgot about, and they kind of said, "Look, fuck, we forgot all about you. Meet us in the where did they pick him up from? Antarctic or something like that. Where did they pick him up from? Anyway, then Nvidia actually spiked up, right? So why? Because every CEO that is actually going there with an agenda, right? So like, let's look at some of the agendas. Jensen Huang, what does he want? He wants the market to reopen for the chips. He wants the market to reopen for H20 and H200 chips. What does Elon want? Regulatory approval in China and protection of the Shanghai Gigafactory. Tim Cook wants supply chain stability. I'll leave a link to this below so that you guys can go and look at the industries that you guys are interested in. But you can see that everyone is going there with an agenda, right? So Larry Fink, expand onshore China asset management licenses and capital flows. David Solomon, M&A advisory mandate, Chinese IPO underwriting. Everybody's going there with a specific agenda. Let's ask Johnny to leave this. Get it from the researchers. Leave it in the chat. The guys can have a look at it. What does Trump want? Okay. Trump and China want a tariff deal. The tariff deal will be something like, if you buy US meat and you open US factories, then we will reduce tariffs. And so at the end of this trip, we may get Trump saying, we did an amazing deal. We went to China. We did an amazing deal. And they're going to put billions of dollars, billions and billions and billions of dollars into the United States. And nobody's ever done a deal like this. And Joe Biden and Barack Obama destroyed relationships. But Xi Jinping and I, we're friends. That's what's going to happen at the end of this. And that's going to send markets even higher. That's going to extend markets even higher, right? He wants the Iran war and the Strait of Hormuz open. And I think they're going to want China to start saying, they're going to want, the researchers are throwing a little tantrum about, I was going to post my dashboard in Frontrunners and you're giving it away for free on the show. Oh, oops. I'm sorry. Anyway, if you want to join Frontrunners, that was a good plug, 𝗙𝗂𝗃𝗃. I mean, can you, that was a very natural plug. If you want to join Frontrunners for free, good plug, 𝗙𝗃𝗃. I mean, for free, you can just go onto the link here. If you were a member, you can join for free. Yeah. If you're a comeback member, in other words, you were a member, market got tough, you couldn't afford it anymore. Now you can come back for free for a month, and you can decide if you want to stay. If you, someone says you're a good plug, bro. You see, guys, if you are new, you can get 50% off. And on top of the 50%, it's just only until Friday. Today's Wednesday. Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. Then this offer's finished. You see, it's got 1 day and 23 hours left. Use the promo code NEW to get 50% off your first month, and then you can leave. You can basically leave after that. Andre was going to plug in this and give it on Frontrunners. Now everybody can get it. So everybody wants something out of this trip. We'll leave both of these dashboards, both of the dashboards. Andre will leave for you. Both of the dashboards Andre will leave for you for free for everybody. Not only those people in Frontrunners who obviously got it first. And they will leave those for you. Okay, so that is where we are with the China visit. Everyone join Frontrunners again. Let me know in the chat if you've joined again. Let me know if you're enjoying it. Okay, now let's talk about Bitcoin and crypto and everything else. So Bitcoin and crypto are going to continue to run as long as the S&P continues to run. When the S&P crashes, they're going to crash. So if you believe that the market's going to come down, like 𝗕𝗃 believes the market's going to come down. He has unfortunately believed the market's going to come down since 65K. I think he might actually even be right. But the problem is that, the market can remain irrational for longer than you can remain solvent. You know that old saying. And so, I mean, he's still saying sell, sell, sell. I actually think that risk return, now is not a good time to buy, to be honest. If we close above the flag and we close above the 200-day moving average on Bitcoin, which is at 83,000 for 2 weeks in a row, change the thesis. Got to be honest. Let's look at altcoins. Not much going on the altcoins. Everything's red, except Injective, which is having a very good day. I actually sold some of my Injective into the strength because I don't need to hold so much Injective. One thing that I did notice, and I haven't spoken about them for a while, but I probably should speak about them, is one of our partners, which is, let me show you. First of all, I'm going to go to the monthly. And you can see the altcoins have actually had a great month. So we can't complain about them actually going down. Because look at, like Injective's up 100% this month. VVV is up 74%. TON's up 50%. Zcash is up 50%. ICP is up 30%. Now, it is ICP's birthday. So happy birthday, ICP. It's his 5th birthday. Now, the reason why I'm talking about this is because there's very few projects that have actually lasted for 5 years. And even though they haven't had many results in the beginning, what they were building was they were building a completely decentralized blockchain computer, like every element of a blockchain computer. Now it's actually starting to work, right? They've got the Caffeine app, and the Caffeine app allows you to vibe code basically anything into a decentralized app. If you haven't tried Caffeine, go and try it. I actually tried it, and remember I built that Banter Bubbles thing. But they've actually, I mean, like they published a whole big update about all the stuff that they've done. It's a very technical update. The reason is the guy that published it is Dom. Dom is like one of the smartest guys you're living. He's like this mad scientist. Every time I speak to him, like, basically I need to go afterwards and I need to take a Xanax and like chill on the sofa. Because he's just like he runs at a crazy pace. Anyway, long story short, ICP is currently delivering. If you haven't used the Caffeine app, go and use the Caffeine app. But still around and still churning blocks and churning, decentralization after 5 years. Remember, if you're not a part of Frontrunners until Friday, that special works. You can even get access to Andre's desk, where apparently he was going to drop those things today. Still haven't seen them. Let's just have a look here. Still haven't seen them. Yeah, so you do get a part of, you actually get to be in like Andre's channel as well. What else is there to talk about? Let's look at the 100 to 200 and see what's going on here in the last month. I bet you ZK Sync's also moved. I bet you. Let's see, ZK. Where is the ZK bubble? Because they're also doing some really cool shit with institutions and interoperability. ZK Sync, here it is. Let's see, how have they done in the last month? Up 20%. So look, we can't really complain. We've had a good month. Again, if Bitcoin rejects, the whole market's is gonna reject. So right now, all eyes on the S&P, all eyes on Bitcoin. Remember one thing, I've given you all the alarm bells, but the alarm bells can last for a lot longer. Like, you can say the market's overheated. You can look in 6 months, there's another 50% up on the market, and the market's even more overheated. Doesn't mean that all these alarm bells are going off. It just means that right now the risk return is probably the other way around. And to be honest, like, if I wouldn't rush into the market now. I would just wait, and that's exactly what I'm doing. I'm waiting for an opportunity. Warren Buffett is sitting on a pile of cash, and he isn't investing a single bit of cash. And Warren Buffett's like really old. I saw him doing an interview yesterday, and he's actually getting really, really old. It was quite sad, actually. Researchers, can you drop that interview that he did yesterday, or that was post yesterday? I actually felt sorry for him, because I actually think it's for the first time. Remember, he only retired not so long ago. For the first time, I actually felt like he's old, and he's not compos mentis. I felt like maybe he's got a little bit of dementia now. I mean, the truth is, he is 98 years old, but he's extremely, extremely smart and he's the GOAT. I mean, he's the all-time GOAT of investing, no doubt about that. The researcher Slaven dropped that thing for us. They're dropping memes in the researchers chat. 95. I think he's more. I think he's 98. Let's ask chat. Where's chat? Do you, just as a question, when you talk to your chat GPT, do you actually like call it something? Like, I call mine chat. I say, hey chat. Like, do you call your chat GPT something? Hey something, or you just ask the question?
I just say, give me this, please.
You don't say, hey chat.
No.
Okay, I say, hey chat. How old is Warren Buffett? I think he's 98.
Sure.
Let's have a look here. 95. Someone in the chat was right. 95 years old. You know, the researchers still haven't found that interview. I mean, researchers will just wait. We'll just sit here and we'll just wait. So someone says, I call mine Mike. Call your ChatGPT, run. That could be funny. Yeah. All right, chaps. The researchers, I think they've knocked off for the day. Yeah, they've knocked off. Oh, wait. There is movement. There is movement.
We are sitting down right now with Warren Buffett, the chairman of Berkshire Hathaway, who for the first time in 60 years has been watching all of this from the audience instead of being on stage. And, you know, last year at this time, Warren, you surprised everyone with the announcement that you were stepping down as CEO. Fast forward a year, and here we are. What do you think?
Well, I think it's all working. It's all working. It isn't our ideal surrounding area. Or environment, I should say, in terms of deploying businesses as a percentage of the whole than I did 10 years ago. I have not learned new industries for some years, you know, and so I don't kid myself on that. I'm not going to learn. I'm not going to have
I'll leave a link to this below as well. He is quite old. Darren says, please mention my name. He says, Darren, it's Darren Breitenfeld. He says, I should please mention his name. Yeah. You know, there's a guy here called God is Number One, and he says, scam ran. Everyone remember. Bro, why do you watch the show? I don't get it. I don't get it. You know what I'm going to call my ChatGPT? Someone says, right, just call it by your wife's name, because you know your wife's always right. Hey, honey. Hey, honey. Hey, actually, I'm going to call my ChatGPT honey. Hey, honey. You know, my personal assistant, her name is actually Donna, and she calls me Harvey. No jokes. Seriously, no jokes. You want to see? I'll show you. No jokes. Donna. Okay, I'll show you something. I just want to make sure I'm not giving away any like trade secrets here. Yeah, okay, I'll show you something actually quite like cool, I think. So you know, like Donna and Harvey from Suits. You know what I'm talking about, right? You watch Suits? So look here. So as you can see, I call her Donna and she calls me Harvey. I say, oh wait, let me actually get you guys a better view here. I say, look here. Hey Donna. She's definitely offline. She's always offline. Always out of credits. Hey Harvey, what do you need? You see, she knows. She just knows. She knows. All right, chaps. Longer show today because I think we were chilling a bit. I will see you guys again tomorrow. Tomorrow I'm going to drop a video. I've made a video which I'm going to drop on the other channel about what you need to do if your portfolio is still 50% down. If your portfolio is 50% down, just let me know in the chat. All right, love you guys. See you guys tomorrow. Until then, trade well, my friends.